Blog Talk Radio.
Franchise interviews from Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia. You're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews. Welcome to Franchise Interviews, an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship. Listen to interviews with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys. And now, welcome your host, Marty McDermott, and Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 17 years, we've been asking the entrepreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and I am so excited about today's show. So recently, I discovered Google's latest AI innovation, NotebookLM. And this tool has generated a lot of excitement in both the tech and podcasting communities, and for good reason. So the way it works is users can input any type of raw text. It could be a short story or article, and NotebookLM will transform it into a podcast. And each podcast features the same male and female voices, and they kind of mimic the tone and rhythm with a natural-sounding filler words like ums and ahs. And occasionally you might notice a glitch in the speech or repeated explanations from the virtual host. So curious about its capabilities, we, Franchise Interviews, decided to put NotebookLM to the test by inputting a recent article and interview featuring the telephone doctor Nancy Friedman and myself, Dr. Marty McDermott. So we'd like everyone to give it a listen, and ask yourself, if you weren't told this was AI generated, would you have known? Let's go right into our interview with the host from NotebookLM.
Okay, so get this. Today we're diving into the world of franchising.
Franchising?
Yeah, but hold on.
Okay.
We're not just talking burger joints and drive-thrus, all right?
Okay.
We've got this interview, right? It's Nancy Friedman, the telephone doctor herself.
Oh, I know her.
She's talking with this franchise guru, Dr. Martin J. McDermott.
Okay.
And their dynamic, let me tell you.
What is it?
It's pure gold.
Really?
Oh, from the get-go, it's like they just click, like old friends.
You can tell they have so much respect for each other, too.
Oh, really? But it's more than just respect, There's this shared energy.
Right away, you pick up on Nancy's personality. She calls Martin a good-looking stud. And they haven't even gotten past the intro.
Oh, it's just classic Nancy.
But here's the thing. Beneath all that playfulness, there's this sharp mind.
Oh, for sure. She knows how to get people to open up, you know what I mean?
It's that raw, unedited style that makes her interviews so interesting. You just never know what's going to come out.
Exactly. And that's where the real insights pop up, But before they even get into the whole franchising thing,
what happens?
They start talking about interviewing styles.
Mm-hmm.
They both love Larry King.
Who doesn't? He just lets the guests shine.
Exactly. But get this, they're both huge fans of James Lipton.
Inside the actor's studio, really?
I know, right? I never would have pictured that crossover.
But when you think about it, it makes sense in a way.
How so?
Because it doesn't matter if you're interviewing an actor about a role or, a business owner about franchising.
It's all about getting to their story.
Exactly, their why. And you can tell they're both passionate about that, about having these genuine conversations.
And speaking of unique stories, Martin's journey to becoming like a franchise expert.
Yeah.
It's anything but a straight line.
Oh, really?
He starts by talking about his background, born in Brooklyn, raised in Jersey, and now he's in Easton, Pennsylvania.
That's quite the mix, right? The city, the suburbs, small town life.
And that probably played a role in his path, don't you think?
For sure. Talk about adaptability. That's key in the franchise world.
But here's the thing. He didn't exactly choose franchising,
What do you mean?
It kind of chose him.
How so?
So picture this, right?
Yeah.
It's the late 90s.
Okay.
The internet's still a baby.
Okay.
And Martin's in Manhattan selling online ads.
Okay.
He stumbles into franchising totally by accident.
No way.
He was trying to attract clients to a website he was managing.
So he's an accidental franchise guru. I love that.
Right. Talk about a happy accident.
It reminds you that sometimes those unplanned paths, they lead to the best places.
100%. But here's the thing. He didn't just stumble into franchising, and that's it.
What happened?
He had this aha moment.
What was it?
He goes to his first franchise show, right?
Oh.
Expecting all the usual stuff.
Fast food, big brands, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But instead...
What happened? Tell me. He's blown away. Like, completely floored.
By what?
The variety. It's not just burger chains.
No. What else is there?
Think about it. Shoe repair, printing, you name it.
Wow. See, this is what I'm talking about. I never thought about it like that. But it makes sense. There are franchises for everything.
It's like this whole world of opportunity.
Totally. So what did he do?
Well, remember, this is 1999.
Okay.
The internet's barely a thing.
Most people were still figuring out how to dial up.
Exactly.
No Wi-Fi.
Nope. But Martin, he's sharp.
What'd he do?
He joins this company, franchiseamerica.com.
He saw the potential, huh?
Oh, absolutely. Before almost everyone else. I mean, this wasn't about, like, getting a leg up or anything. It was about understanding what the internet could do.
Democratize information.
Right. Make it easier to find and invest in franchises. Ones people might never even hear about otherwise.
He was ahead of his time.
A visionary, you could say.
And that leads us to Franchise Interviews.
His podcast.
Yeah, with almost 800 episodes.
Wow. That's commitment.
It's not just luck, though. It's passion.
Oh, he's got it. You can hear it when they start talking about books.
Oh, yeah. What are they reading?
Well, Martin, he's reading this book, Abundance.
Abundance.
It's about how the future's brighter than we think.
I like that. It's easy to get bogged down in the negative, you know.
Tell me about it.
So to hear him talk about a book like that.
What is it?
It's a good reminder to look for the good.
Definitely. And then Nancy, she jumps in with a recommendation of her own.
All right, hit me. I'm always down for a good book. What is it?
Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss.
Okay, I've heard of that. It's about negotiation, right?
Yeah, but it's not your typical business book.
How so?
Chris Voss, he was an FBI hostage negotiator.
Whoa. Okay, that's a little different. So what's the takeaway?
It gets into, like, the psychology of it all, you know?
Yeah.
How to read people, how to respond, when to hold back.
So it's about more than just closing deals.
Way more. I mean, you could probably use this stuff with your kids.
Now that's what I'm talking about, real-world stuff. And it makes you think, doesn't it? How important communication is, no matter what you're doing.
100%. But it goes even deeper than that.
Really? How so?
They're both lifelong learners, these two. Always trying to learn something new.
Funny how that comes out, isn't it?
What's that?
They're talking about books, but it tells you so much about who they are as people.
Right. And it wasn't even the main topic. But those little detours, that's where the good stuff happens.
Totally. Speaking of detours, remember how Nancy mentioned she was into theater? What's that got to do with being the telephone doctor, right?
Well, she thinks theater teaches you to listen. You know, how to make eye contact, connect with someone.
Which is huge in any job, but especially when you're dealing with customers day in and day out.
Right. You can't just phone it in. No pun intended.
It's about building trust, just like an actor with their audience.
And Martin, he picks up on this, too. He says he's always been drawn to theater people.
Really? Why do you think that is?
Well, their energy, their way of understanding people, you know.
Maybe it's their honesty, too.
And remember, Martin, he's all about getting to the heart of someone's story.
Their why.
Exactly. And what better way to do that than by making people feel seen and heard?
It really does. You can just tell there's a real connection there.
It makes you think, though. How often do we actually do that?
Do what?
Really connect, you know? Really listen.
It's easy to get caught up in our own heads.
Especially these days. There's always something, you know?
Always on. Always scrolling.
Right. And this conversation, it's like a reminder how to be present, you know, how to ask good questions.
You really listen to the answers.
Exactly. Not just wait for your turn to talk.
So much more to it than that.
And you know what else I noticed?
What's that?
This whole idea of, like, embracing the unexpected.
Oh, totally. They both kind of ended up where they are by accident.
I know life takes these twists and turns. And sometimes those detours, they lead to pretty amazing places.
For sure. So as we wrap up here, what's the one thing you hope people take away from this conversation?
Ooh, that's a good one. I think it's about being open, you know?
Open to what?
To possibility. To trying new things. You just never know.
I love that. So to everyone listening, think about it, right?
What's that?
Those little moments. The things you weren't expecting that turned into something more.
Those happy accidents.
Exactly. What are yours?
Coming up in our next segment, we'll be playing a clip from our Great Quotes in Franchising podcast right here on Franchise Interviews.
Today's Great Quote in Franchising is being brought to you by
Franchise Teacher.
Would you like to know how to franchise your concept or grow your franchise business?
Meet the experts at Franchise Teacher.
The goal of Franchise Teacher is to teach, coach, consult, and advise. The team of experts at Franchise Teacher will evaluate your business model and present you with a winning business strategy.
Franchise Teacher will help you decide whether or not your concept works and if it's franchisable. Franchise Teacher is proud to have over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors.
Franchise Teacher are developers of over a dozen franchise systems, which include brick and mortar as well as home-based concepts of nearly 3,000 combined franchise locations.
Whether you need to add more units or get more customers, Franchise Teacher can help. We will teach.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn our proven system.
Coach.
Franchise Teacher will help you provide a game plan to succeed.
Consult.
Franchise Teacher will make sure you stay on track.
And advise.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn from our over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors. Take advantage of our free, no-obligation phone consultation. Simply go to franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032.
That's franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032.
Hi, everyone. This is Marty McDermott, the president of Franchise Interviews, and welcome to another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising, where each podcast you get to hear a great quote in franchising. You know, we've been hosting Franchise Interviews many years now, and during that time, we've had some incredible quotes on our show. Today, you're going to get to hear from Nick Friedman, who is the founder of College Hunks Hauling and Junk and Moving Franchise Opportunity. And Nick said something really quite brilliant on our show that we haven't heard in over a decade of doing franchise interviews. We started speaking about the 4 F's of franchising, and interesting enough, we ended up with 5 F's of franchising as we were doing the interview with Nick. And, you know, in marketing, we talk about the 4 P's of marketing, which is product, price, promotion, and place. So I thought this was really brilliant what Nick said. So here we go with Nick Friedman, the founder of College Hunks Hauling and Junk Moving Franchise Opportunity.
History.
What, you know, the majority of our listeners, we call them, Nick, we call them aspiring franchipreneurs. What types of characteristics do you look for in your franchisees?
You know, what I like to say is there's 4 F's when considering a franchise, which is also, I guess, starts with a letter F. So, you know, there's 4 F's that come out of franchise. And I think this is what a prospective franchise should think of when they're considering what franchise they want to pursue. And this is, quite frankly, I think what franchisors should consider when they're evaluating a prospective franchisee. So the first F is fit. You know, do they fit? In other words, do they have transferable skills that can make them effective at this business? Have they done anything in their prior professional or personal lives that would make them be successful in this type of business? The second piece is the family side. In other words, does their family support them in them pursuing this endeavor, whether it's their husband or wife or kids or parents? You know, do they believe in them? Because you don't want things to get tough in their inner circle to say, I told you so. You want them to, you know, kind of cheer them on to get through it. The financial piece is important. In other words, are they capitalized to be able to invest in the opportunity, and do they have realistic financial expectations? And then the last F is the fun factor. You know, can we have fun working with this individual? You know, franchising very much like a partnership, even though that's not typically called that. You got to have, you know, an alignment of vision and values to be able to enjoy working together. So that's really what we look for. You know, we want people that believe in the secret sauce that we've already developed. We don't want somebody to come tell us that they think it should be done differently. We want them to tell us that they believe in what we've created. And sure, we would, you know, want to continuously improve and encourage ideas, but not, you know, we want folks that believe in the system and are going to execute the system rather than trying to shortcut success by doing it, you know, doing it their own way. And I think that's, you know, really no different in our system than any other franchise model that is going to be successful long term. They need to really take into account those factors.
That's great, Nick. We have this great quotes in franchising podcast. Anytime we hear, Michael Gerber's been in there a couple times, but we're going to put that one in there because I haven't heard that in over a decade, and I think that's great advice to our listeners. It's really fantastic because it's true. I mean, you could really, your business, you could teach to anybody, couldn't you? I mean, pretty much, but it's interesting in putting those factors in there, like family support, and even fun. I haven't heard that, but it should be an enjoyable business. And, because it is a stressful situation for the customers, I guess you got to be able to put a smile on your customer's face, don't you?
Absolutely. And I mean, as you know, there's over 3,000 franchise opportunities out there. So, what's going to separate one from the other? It's got to be something that you can enjoy. And I guess I'll grab another F out of there. I'm on a roll here. Fulfillment. Is it something that, we're going to be fulfilled doing day in and day out? Because I think franchising is a lot like a gym membership. If you join the gym and you've got fitness goals, you're getting access to all types of equipment, personal trainers, coaches, workout groups, but you still got to go and show up and do the work. So if you buy a franchise, you're getting access to the business model in a box. You're getting access to trainers, coaches, fellow franchisees that you can, hold each other accountable with, but you still got to show up and put in the effort to execute that business model. So that's where I think those factors come into play.
Once you decide that, you do like them, and they like you, Nick, and there is a fit, what is the training like? I mean, do they typically come to Florida for training? How does that work? If you'd like to hear that whole interview with Nick Friedman of the College Hunks Hauling and Junk Moving franchise opportunity, all you have to do is go to franchiseinterviews.com, go to our franchise interviews by category page, and then go to our home repair and improvements page, and you'll be able to listen to that whole show with Nick Friedman. It was really a fantastic interview. It was great to finally have Nick on the show. And lastly, we'd just like to thank everyone for making this podcast such a big hit. It's hard to imagine. We've been doing it now over 10 years, and it's just amazing to see where the podcast has gone. So thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you again soon with another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising, sponsored by Franchise Interviews. Take care, everyone.
Franchise Interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.